I've always had an obsession with weird video games. Way back in the day on my Peanut Butter Gamer channel, I did a lot of videos in the early days on weird video game characters, weird video games, things like that. And I continue to do videos about weird games from time to time on that channel for pretty much the entire existence. And what do you know, I'm getting another itch. Another itch to talk about weird video games that I have to scratch. So I've got another stack of games here, a little bit shorter than normal for these videos, but I do have a decent amount of games to talk about today. Some of which I've talked about in Peanut Butter Gamer videos and things before, so you may have seen me talk about them. And then others that I had never even played until I had to play them for the first time on this video, or at least play for the first time in a very, very long time. And I will be ranking these from the least weird to the most weird. It gets really strange as we get towards the end. So let's just jump into it with the very first game I have, Finny the Fish for the PS2. Finny the Fish in the Seven Waters, to be exact. This was published by Natsume, the publisher of a lot of the Harvest Moon games. Just a random aside, I guess. Also, screw Natsume. They stole the Harvest Moon name, but that's a different story for a different time. I have no recollection of buying this game. At some point, I must have bought it at a video game store or something, and it was a game that I was going to do a PBG video on. In fact, I even wrote a script for it. I don't remember how far I got into that script, but I wrote a decent amount and recorded all the gameplay and everything, and just kind of felt like it wasn't really that good. And this was a long, long time ago, so if it didn't pass my quality standards for what was this, like 2014, then it really must have been bad. I don't necessarily remember the game itself being bad, though. I mean, it's definitely weird, which is why I'm talking about it. Not nearly as weird as some of the other games, but it's just the fact that, I don't know, you're a fish, I guess. I remember it being a sort of Zelda ripoff, but it wasn't that long ago I went back and played it a little bit more, and it's not as much of a Zelda ripoff as I remembered. It has some sort of Zelda tropes, I guess, but it's pretty unique. I mean, you're a fish. When has there ever been a fish in a Zelda game? Except for like a few times where there was, but other than that, when is there ever? That's, well, actually there was a lot of them. Just forget that. Something sinister churns in the darkest depths of the water. That's why the wise old Kappa enlisted you in a quest to find the master statues. Master sword, master statues. You can kind of see where I was going at with the Zelda ripoff angle. But yeah, again, I think it's kind of not doing the game justice to call it a Zelda ripoff. For one thing, in order to survive, you actually have to eat other little fish and insects and things. I mean, I don't remember Link doing that. And I remember you can even accidentally catch a fishing hook and get pulled up into the air. It's kind of a strange game overall, just being a fish and going on this sort of adventure quest that would normally be done by a human character. But the weirdest thing about it is by far the Kappa character. But yeah, not the weirdest game by any means. It's by far the least weird game on this list. It was just something I wanted to include because I found it strange, especially the first time I played it. Pretty interesting little game nonetheless. Finny the Fish. Have you even heard of Finny the Fish before? I doubt it. There's a lot of really obscure PS2 games like that if you go diving deep enough in the like 12,000 PS2 games that were released. Next I've got WarioWare Smooth Moves. Now obviously there's a lot of different WarioWare games. I do think that Smooth Moves is the weirdest one though, if for no other reason than those little cutscenes where it introduces the different ways to play with the Wii remote.
The samurai. With your right hand,
wow!
hold the thumb baton close to your left hip.
Oh
like
yeah!
a hungry samurai defending his lunch. Close your eyes and await the attack.
I'm just looking at some of these poses even on the back of the box. The big cheese, the freaking elephant. I forgot that was one of them. Most people probably know about the WarioWare games at this point. In fact, they're so normalized, I guess, is that the right word, that you might not even think of them as being that weird, but realistically, I mean, come on, they're pretty freaking strange, especially all the different random mini games. One of my favorite things about playing these is just the sheer creativity that was allowed for these like 3-second mini games. It must have been so fun to be a minigame designer for these WarioWare games, especially the earlier ones. Some of the newer games feel a little bit lame. I don't know, kind of like the series has gone on for a little bit too long at this point, you might say. Although, to be fair, I didn't play the Switch one. Maybe that one was good, let me know. But yeah, especially back when these games first came out, they were very strange. The freaking finger up the nose minigame. The one with the guy that has a giant Adam's apple drinking the water, that guy's pretty disturbing. Anyone with a giant long neck and big Adam's apple is just a freak. But yeah, I love the WarioWare WarioWare games. I recently started playing through them, starting from the original, and I'm kind of working my way up. I am now on Smooth Move, so I am actually going to be streaming this soon. By the time you're seeing this, I probably already did. You can check out the VOD if you want. Oh my god, monkeys! All right, next. This is a game that I almost always forget exists, but every now and then I'll look at my DS collection and then see it sitting there and think, oh yeah, I forgot that Electroplankton exists. This is a game that I remembered very fondly from high school. My best friend Kyle had this game, and I would borrow it from him from time to time. Eventually, at some point in my life, I paid a decent amount of money to buy this copy of it. I think it was like $30 or something. This was maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago. And then I remembered, oh yeah, Electroplankton isn't actually very good. I mean, it's barely even a game. I think it falls into the category of games I like to call non-games, where it is technically a video game, but I mean, is it really? Even the back of the box, it presents it more as a CD. Like, these are different songs on here. It doesn't even describe itself as a game. It described itself as a sea. What? In this sea, you'll encounter 10 unique species of tiny electroplankton that respond to your touch and voice to create unforgettable sounds and melodies. Actually, some of them are pretty forgettable. In fact, by my count, 7 out of the 10 minigames in this are insanely forgettable, or at least not fun anyways. You got some leaf game where things bounce around on the leaves and you kind of maybe make a tune out of it, but you kind of can't because it's stupid. There's a few other stupid ones where I'm like, literally, what am I even doing here? You open it for like 5 seconds and think, huh, and then you move on to the next one and you never open that one again. That's like half the games on this. There are 3 that I like though. There's the one with the long boys, Beatness. You can make some pretty catchy tunes on there. I mean, there's no skill involved. It's impossible to be like offbeat. You just kind of tap on things, make some Mario sound effects and stuff. You know, pretty fun. And then there's a couple other ones where you can record your voice in the game and it plays it back for you. I'm always a sucker for those. They make me laugh way harder than they should. There's Wreck where you have these 4 fish that swim by the screen and you can speak while they're doing it and record your voice and they just play it back. Hello. Hello, sir. I mean, by the time you record all 4 of them, you could basically not even tell what is being said.
Piss my pants. Touch my feet. I hope that you will touch my shit. Piss my pants. Touch my feet. I hope that you will touch my shit.
And then there's the last one, Vol Voice, which is the one me and my friend Kyle would always mess around with. You literally just record your voice and you can play it back in multiple different ways to make it sound funny. And it's extra funny because it comes out of this little cute thing and you're making it say vulgar shit. It's just like super adorable.
I'm gonna need you to do something right now. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel or else I will just...
Yeah, there's really not that much to it. It's a fun game, it's pretty funny, and it's weird, so I included it here. Again, not as weird as some of the ones we've got coming up. We're getting into the really weird ones already at this point, but yeah, Electroplankton. It's pretty weird. Pretty forgettable, but pretty weird. Okay, next we have Baby Universe. You never heard of Baby Universe before? No? Okay, I'm the only one who knows what this is? All right, fine. Let's try the baby one. Let's do the baby one. 3D Kaleido... Oh, whoa. Oh my god. It's me. Hey. 3D Kaleidoscope Baby Universe for the PlayStation. If you haven't heard of this, I guess I was being a little unfair. It is a Japanese-only game. So, I mean, I don't know why most of you watching this, likely English-speaking, you know, that way you can understand what I'm saying. You might not have heard of it. Although, I doubt most people in Japan have heard of it either, if we're being honest. I didn't mean to make this come on right after Electroplankton, but it is fairly similar to Electroplankton in that it is very weird and strange, even more weird than Electroplankton. But it's also not really a game at all. You have, I think, 5 by my recollection. I mean, I can't even call them minigames. I'm sitting here calling Electroplankton a non-game. This is even more a non-game than Electroplankton. I saw this because one of my stream and Discord moderators, Shut Up Sprinkles, shout out to Shut Up, by the way, who works in a game store, sent me an image of it when she got it in their store, and I thought, wow, that looks really cool. That looks up my alley. I didn't notice the 3D kaleidoscope part. I saw Baby Universe, and it looked really weird and colorful on the back of the box. I was envisioning something akin to this game. I can't even remember what it was called. A game I talked about on my trippiest game video back on PBG in the day, where you're like a flying shoe or something. In my head, I was thinking, wow, it's gonna be something like that. By the way, I would have included that game on here, but I don't actually own it. But no, Baby Universe, I don't even know why that's in the title. It's really the 3D kaleidoscope part that you should be paying attention to, because that's literally all it is. It's just a bunch of different kaleidoscope mini games. Literally, the first 4 of them are insanely stupid. Like, I don't know, what am I supposed to? Are you on shrooms? Have you done some form of narcotics? Then maybe you will you'll enjoy it. If you haven't, then you won't. In fact, even if you are on some form of narcotics, you probably also won't enjoy it, but you know, hey, it probably doesn't hurt. The fifth one is literally just an interactive kaleidoscope, though. It's by far the coolest one. It's all psychedelic and everything, I guess. If you're into kaleidoscopes, there are people who are. In fact, my wife actually likes kaleidoscopes. Maybe you'll like this, but for the rest of you, you probably won't. Pretty trippy, though, and pretty weird, but not a good game. Not even a game, if we're being honest. Next, we have Ribbit King. This is actually a game that I've talked about even on this channel before, so I won't talk about it for too long, but it just, you know, I can't do a video like this about weird games that I own without including it. Ribbit King is a golf game, but instead of playing with a golf ball, you play with a frog. I initially saw this on my friend Chadtronic's live stream. I think he's a big fan of this game, and it looked really up my alley, so I purchased it, and I was not disappointed. It actually is very, very fun. It's also very funny, too. The cutscenes at points really catch you off guard.
He's a weirdo.
At least I'm not a picnic basket.
Obviously, the whole idea of frog golf is weird in and of itself, but it's really the characters and the world and everything surrounding it that makes it all trippy and strange. It's not just a golf, but instead of a ball, it's a frog. It's like an insane obstacle course. You got giant ice tornadoes that have faces for some reason. You've got little penis diglets that will carry your frog around the ground. I don't know how else to describe it. I honestly think penis diglet is the most accurate way I could say it. Very strange, very funny, and unlike some of the games on this list, it's actually fun. So that's a plus too, I guess. You may notice that it is now daytime outside. Well, I have just been sitting here pondering, thinking about the next game on this list. It's such a deep, meaningful experience. Profound. All the other great artworks throughout history cannot compare to this game. And I just had to sit here and think about it so I could make sure I could mentally prepare to explain it to you. That game is Incredible Crisis for the PlayStation. Also, it was getting kind of late and I was hungry and tired, but mostly the first thing. Incredible Crisis, I believe it's also known as Tendemo Crisis or something like that in Japan, was originally an arcade game that was eventually released on the PlayStation, and there was actually a translated version in the US, which is a little bit surprising. You can already tell this game is weird just by looking at it, especially the back of the box where it says something about, you're gonna piss your pants while you play, something like that. You'll laugh, cry, freak out, and perhaps soil your shorts while your mental and physical reflexes are put to the test. Damn, intense. The main gist of the story is that it is Grandma's birthday. That's pretty much it. That's the point of the game. And every member of the family needs to get home early that day so they can celebrate while she sings karaoke or something like that. And you follow each individual member of the family throughout their own little arc and what happened during that day leading up to the birthday party for Grandma. And believe it or not, their day is very abnormal. You start off with the main guy at work and he's sleeping. Then he wakes up because they have to do their daily Japanese exercises or whatever it is. So you do a bunch of dances. And that's pretty fun. And then you run away from this ball thing that's chasing you like it's Indiana Jones or something. And then he's falling down in an escalator that's for some reason outside of the building. You win! He gets flattened by a refrigerator at one point if you mess up. Then a bunch of other weird things happen. Eventually a UFO shows up and you have to like blow it up or something. Very Independence Day-esque. There's a lot of movie references in this. At one point you even pleasure a woman inside of a Ferris wheel. I'm not being sarcastic. That's actually what you do.
Further down. Oh, a little down. Oh, a little down. A little bit down. A little bit down. A little bit down. A little bit left. A little bit down. Oh, just a tiny bit left. Oh, just a tiny bit. Oh, just a tiny bit. Oh, just a tiny bit. There.
Pretty fun game, actually. Yeah, eventually that lady tries to kill you, by the way. I actually don't really know why. I couldn't figure it out. But yeah, pretty funny game, very weird, and not a game that I've heard a lot of other people talk about over the years. Next, I have a very strange one. Speaking of games that I've never heard anyone else talk about on the internet before. Twisted the Game Show for the 3DO. Weirdly, this is the only 3DO game that I have. I bought a 3DO just to play this for a Goodwill Games video when I found this somewhere. This is, as you may not be surprised to hear by the title, Twisted the Game Show, a game show game, but it is not like Wheel of Fortune or Family Feud or anything like that. This is an entirely different beast. This game is a game show for characters from TV shows. Obviously, they're not real characters, but a lot of them are based off of real characters. It's obviously done in live action video, if you can't tell by whatever gameplay we're showing right now. The whole point is that the characters try to win the game show so that they can not be in the TV anymore. If I'm remembering correctly, it's admittedly been a while since I pulled my 3DO out to play this. Everything about the game is very weird. It has a very specific style that it's going for. A twisted style. I remember the actual game portion of it being kind of confusing. Like, it's hard to tell where you are on the board at any point because the board just kind of goes up in a loop in like a spiral staircase. You land on spaces, you play mini games, the characters get screwed over at different points. Realistically, the weirdest part about it, from what I can remember, is just the characters themselves. They're all very strange. They're insanely exaggerated caricatures. I can't say that word. Google caricatures. Pronunciation. Caricatures, yes. Highly exaggerated characters. Obviously, the FMV style makes it pretty unique. Not a lot of games use that, especially not these days. But it's the cheesy acting that really does it for me.
Good job, Humble Howard. You go again.
I unironically like it.
Easy does it, cat. Very impressive.
The part that I always remember the most is when you're choosing your characters and all the characters are just telling you to pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me. Like, oh my god, shut up! Yeah, super unique, super strange, very weird, and we're starting to get even into the weird, super weird territory at this point. Well, if that was a more American style weird, we're moving back to a more Japanese weird with the classic you knew it had to be on here. Katamari Damacy. Katamari Damacy is one of the games that inspired my YouTube journey, if you will, the most. Early on in my YouTube days, I probably talked about Katamari Damacy maybe 20 times, only slightly exaggerated. I probably put Katamari Damacy somewhere in every top 10 I made for the first 5 years of my Peanut Butter Gamer channel's existence. So yeah, I have talked about this game pretty extensively to the point where I don't even have that much to say about it, but again, I can't do a video like this without including it, so here it is. It's kind of surprising that I have a decent chunk of other games that are weird, or at least according to me, on this list. I think part of it is because I'm so used to Katamari Damacy now, and I've seen it so many times. When it first came out, it was a little obscure, but now I think it's more well-known, which kind of makes it a little less weird, I guess. They've had a whole lot of sequels since then, and remakes on the Switch, and things like that. Even the weird aesthetic aside, the gameplay is actually very fun and satisfying. If you haven't tried it before, and you think you might like it, I would highly recommend it. Again, you can get it on the Switch, so it's fairly easy to play at this point. Weird, but in a happy kind of colorful, beautiful sort of way. As opposed to the next game, which I'm about to get into now. King of Crusher. This is a Japanese game, if you can't tell by the Japanese language onto the box. Luckily, you don't really need to read Japanese in order to understand this game. There's not a lot of text involved. Again, where Katamari Damacy is weird in a colorful and happy way, even having children sucked up and burned into a star, into space, you know, they somehow manage all of that murder and death and destruction in a very happy way. I'm glad that those children got turned into a star. It's happy! This game is very creepy and disturbing almost at certain points, especially the cutscenes. The animations are just very off-putting. The basic story, to the extent that the story makes any sense at all, is some kind of allegory, I guess. Something about a guy who works this 9-to-5 job all day long and it's soulless and it crushes him, and there's a baby. I forgot about the baby. Don't forget the baby. I guess he doesn't want the baby or something, or he's stressed out by work and the family life and all this stuff, so he just kind of snaps and goes crazy and starts punching and beating things up and breaking shit. And as he goes, he kind of gets corrupted even further and starts turning into literal monsters, and then turns into an even bigger monster. And eventually he's like a dragon Godzilla thing flying around and burning buildings down. I want to say this game is fun. I played it all the way through for a video at one point, but I don't think I can say that it is fun with confidence. There are parts of the game that are sometimes fun. It is a little bit too frustrating and aggravating to be called fun, though, I have to say. Certain levels in particular where you're being shot at by like helicopters and things, it's kind of like a depressing rampage that instead of being colorful and looking pretty nice, looks like this and is insanely difficult and impossible to control. Other than that, those things, they're practically the same game. Also the baby, I don't think there's the baby in Rampage, but also there's the Statue of Liberty at the end of the game. I mean, spoiler alert, but I doubt you're gonna play this game, so I don't even care. Yeah, that's not in Rampage either, or is it? I don't know. If it is in Rampage, it doesn't talk to you. If you do manage to get through this slog of a game to see the ending, it is pretty interesting and memorable anyway. After destroying an entire city, you again talk to the Statue of Liberty and then you fight the Statue of Liberty. There's both a good and bad end. I admittedly don't remember how you get the good or bad end, but the bad end basically is you're in like a purgatory dust fog world and you find your baby, but the baby's a monster. Whoa! If you get the good ending, you go back to reality and snap out of it and you have the baby and you're happy. Yeah, very strange game, kind of upsetting in certain ways. I mean, it's not that bad. It's not like playing Silent Hill or anything. It's just mostly the graphics and the cutscenes are so disturbing. Very interesting game. Again, another game I've never heard anyone talk about. I just kind of have an obsession with these kind of weird games. But yeah, King of Crusher. I talked about that more extensively in a Peanut Butter Gamer video a few years ago. In fact, now that I think about it, all three of the games I talked about in this video are also in this video, so maybe I'll link to it at the end in the description if I remember to do that. Oh yeah, and every time you beat a level, he goes... Next we have Mayonnaise. It's Mayonnaise Quest. What is this game actually called again? Oh yeah. Makoto-chan no Wonder Kitchen, which means Wonder Kitchen with Makoto-chan, probably. This is, believe it or not, a branded game about mayonnaise. It definitely doesn't look like it though. It looks like a charming, cute little adventure game, and it kind of is that. You can only get this game in a competition in Japan, I believe, with some kind of convenience store. They made maybe 500 copies, something like that. And yes, it was made to promote the Ajinomoto brand of mayonnaise. You'd go through these different dream world sort of things, and after you found and clicked on the things you were supposed to click on, you would end up back in the kitchen where you would make a recipe. And yes, every recipe obviously includes Ajinomoto mayonnaise, including ones that probably shouldn't include Ajinomoto mantis, like things with pineapples. But, you know, who am I to judge the Japanese culture? Bold take! I don't put mayonnaise on my pineapples. I guess Makoto-chan does though. But hey, she's a paid shill for Ajinomoto mayonnaise, so let's not listen to what she has to say. But yeah, I've talked about this game before. It's just, you know, another game I have to include in here if I'm talking about the weirdest games I own, and I'm always itching to talk about this game. It's just like so strange. Another game, again, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or anything, but another game I've never heard anyone else talk about, and I guess if you want to hear about these cool games that nobody else in the entire planet even knows about, at least on YouTube, that I've looked up, then I guess you better subscribe. You have no choice. We now have what I almost had to put at number one, the number one most weird game that I own, but I did eventually settle on it being the silver medal. Oh wait, no, bronze? I got it at bronze, actually. There's two more games weirder than this, I decided. Hard to imagine, honestly. But Mission to McDonald Land. Another licensed game, obviously made to promote McDonald's, or at least to be given out in Happy Meals, specifically in Australia where this was made. It's funny enough just to hear all the McDonald's characters with their Aussie accent.
Hear the grimace cry. Well, say
At least to me, as an American who always heard them, obviously, with American accents in the commercials. But that's clearly not the weirdest thing going on here. I think instead of me using words to describe it, we could just show a cutscene.
Greetings, Ronald. McDonald Land.
Wow, come on down.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that's the level of quality that we're talking here. This is where I would make one of those jokes like, oh my god, what did they make this in like a weekend? A drunken bender weekend or something? Because they ran out of time before the deadline? Yeah, actually, pretty much. Well, I don't know about the drunken bender part. But I did read a comment that I can't technically prove is true, but I mean, who would lie about it? It seemed real to me. The guy who made this basically did have like 2-3 days or something to make it. And hey, all things considered, he did a pretty great job. It's certainly memorable anyways. I treasure this game. There are games that are like 9 out of 10 games. I'm talking score-wise. I would rather play this over those. It's just that trippy and strange. in a way that could only exist through sheer crunch deadline. The sheer level of determination to finish this project and get paid before the deadline. There's no other world in which this kind of product could be made. It's surprisingly long though, considering how little time was spent making it. I mean, it's not like a 5-10 hour long game or anything, but you go to a bunch of different planets and play little mini games, and you go to Dinosaur Island, and I don't even know. Again, it's one of those games where it's hard to even describe it. I can't believe this is the third weirdest. This is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my life, but I guess there's 2 more.
Only McDonald's,
Wonder if these coupons are still good. Man, okay, here's the silver medal. Again, hard to imagine that this is not taking the gold, but what are you gonna do? Caution, Seaman. I hear you saying out there in the comment section, how weird could this game be, Peebs? I think you're exaggerating.
There's got to be something you don't like about yourself. So, if you had to pick the one thing that you dislike most about yourself, what would it be?
Anxiety?
Your bottom?
What?
Yeah, I'm not just making it up. On being weird. Sorry, I'm a little bit different, Valley Girl. Is that an actual quote from them? But this game's so fucking weird. One of the weirdest things about this game is the instructions. It doesn't treat it as if it's an actual game. It treats it as if you were actually purchasing a Seaman kit. Historical references to Seaman first appeared in the spoken folklore of ancient Egypt, passed down from generation to generation. Until recently, it was assumed that Seaman creature did not actually exist, similar to the other mythical creatures of ancient Egypt. However, in 1977, the discovery of a live seaman in the Egyptian city of Old Alexandria disproved this assumption, and seaman came to be known the world over. It even has a history of the man who originally discovered the seaman, a French scientist by the name of Dr. Jean-Paul. Like, it has this entire lore of this freaking creature. What the hell is that? That's not even what the seaman looks like. I mean, I guess it's the remains of it. Fossil of a seaman discovered by Dr. Guess at the Nile River. Oh my god, this game is ridiculous. It's giving you a reality check before you start the game. That's how you know you're in for something strange. You are strongly recommended to double check with yourself that you are mentally prepared to assume this important responsibility. Imagine reading that as like a 13-year-old who got this game for Christmas or something. There's a whole page about mental preparation? But yeah, it's a game about a fish with a fucking face. They have sex with each other?
I think I'd like to make a baby. Hey kids, want to see something interesting? Baby, you rock my tank. What's up? Well.
And you also have philosophical conversations.
Do you think the internet is dangerous? You humans are going to get lazier and less mobile, and forget how to deal with each other face to face. I think things could get pretty ugly a few decades down the road. It's up to all of you humans to decide how to use the internet intelligently so that it won't harm you. Well, guess I can't help you then, can I?
To call it weird is really not doing it justice. I dare you to sit down and play this game all the way through. It's not even fun. It's actually kind of infuriating to play it at certain points. There's a lot of clicking on the screen with a finger. There's certain points where you're gonna wanna strangle this sea creature.
Blah, blah, blah.
You're not my friend anymore.
I don't want to.
But if you play long enough, you can eventually release him into the wild and then presumably not have to deal with him anymore. But it's gonna be a grueling like 6 or 7 hours until you get there. Caution, Seaman. I recently discovered there's apparently a sequel to this. It was never released in the US. I think you're like following a monkey around. I would love to have seen that game be translated. I am a sucker for this kind of painful, boring, infuriating experience. As long as it's weird enough. I don't care if it's fun. Just give me something strange to look at. That's all I'm asking. Speaking of not fun, but strange, games that I love. Another game that I've talked about before, admittedly, and another weird game that I am obsessed with. LSD Dream Emulator. Fever Dream, the video game. That's literally what this is. It's basically a kind of dream journal type simulation. You walk around for a while, weird things pop up at you, and then you wake up, and then you keep doing it over and over and over and over and over. And I don't think there's ever a point or an ending or anything. I've known people to have played this for long periods of time, and they still never really see anything. I mean, nothing ever happens. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there is no ending to it. I play this game fairly frequently, and I can't even really explain why. I just turn it on and walk around. I almost never see things that I haven't even seen before, because I played it so often, but when I do see something I haven't seen before, like that guy that like pops out of the bridge and like almost claws at you, oh, it's so worth it. It's so worth the 12 hours I played previously just to see that one thing that meant nothing and did nothing, and my life is pointless and everything's pointless, but I love it. Love it. LSD Dream Emulator. Yeah, thanks for watching this video. If you liked the weirdest games I own, what about the worst games I own? And also, here's that PBG video where I talk about some of these games that I mentioned before. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you liked it. Appreciate you. Peace out.
Good luck with your career. Keep doing your best at what you love, and you'll always be proud of yourself. Okay. I must be off.